You can have the best trading system in the world and still lose everything if your mind betrays you. The difference between the ones who win and the ones who vanish isn't knowledge. It's discipline. Today we're diving into the mindset of one of the greatest traders alive, Richard Dennis, the man who turned a few $100s into hundreds of millions. These are the 10 psychological laws that made him unshakable. This is not theory. This is training. Listen carefully because the next few minutes can rewire how you think, how you risk, and how you win. Chapter 1. Stop predicting. Start executing. You don't need to be right. You need to be consistent. That's the first rule. That's the foundation of everything Richard Dennis stood for. Most traders lose not because they lack knowledge but because they crave control. They want to predict. They want to know what's coming next. But prediction is ego. Execution is discipline. Richard Dennis didn't wake up guessing what the market would do. He didn't try to outsmart the system. He trusted his system. He understood something most people never learn. You don't win by being right once, you win by being disciplined forever. The average trader wakes up every morning searching for certainty. They scroll through news, tweets, charts, opinions. They ask, what's going to happen today? That question destroys them. Because the truth is, no one knows. No one ever will. The market doesn't reward prediction. It rewards preparation. You can't predict chaos. You can only manage it. Richard Dennis built his empire on this truth. He created millionaires not by giving them secret information, but by training them to follow rules, no matter what their emotions said. He called it the turtle method. Every trader got the same rules. Same entries. Same exits. Same risk levels. So why did some become millionaires while others failed? Because the ones who failed couldn't stop predicting. They couldn't surrender their ego. They couldn't just follow the plan. That's the human flaw. We don't want to follow. We want to feel in control. We want to be right. But trading, like life, doesn't care about your feelings. You can be right and still lose. You can be wrong and still win, if you execute your edge. That's the secret Richard Dennis drilled into his traders. Don't think. Don't guess. Don't argue. Execute. You see, execution is freedom. Prediction is prison. Prediction ties you to the outcome. Execution ties you to the process. Prediction makes you emotional. Execution makes you professional. That's the difference. That's the key. Let's break this down. When you predict, you attach your identity to the outcome. If the market moves against you, you don't just lose money, you lose confidence. You lose clarity. You spiral. Because you didn't just lose a trade, you lost your need to be right. When you execute, you separate identity from performance. You say, I don't need to be right. I just need to follow my plan. That mindset changes everything. Every execution builds trust. Every rule followed builds discipline. Every disciplined act compounds into mastery. It's not about predicting the future. It's about being unshaken when the future arrives. So what does that look like in action? It means this. When your system says buy, you buy. When it says sell, you sell. When it says stop, you stop. No hesitation. No debate. No emotion. You don't ask, what if I'm wrong? Because you know, being wrong is part of the math. You don't avoid losses, you manage them. You don't avoid uncertainty, you execute through it. You have a choice, predict or perform. Every time you choose prediction, you give power to fear. Every time you choose execution, you build strength. Think of a surgeon. Would you want a surgeon who feels their way through the operation, or one who follows a precise process? Would you want a pilot who guesses when to land, or one who executes their checklist no matter what? The answer is obvious. Trading is no different. But ego blinds people. Ego whispers, you can skip this one. Ego says, you know better this time. And that one time becomes 10. 10 becomes habit. And that habit kills accounts and confidence. Richard Dennis proved it in real time. He gave ordinary people the same rules and said, follow them exactly. Those who did made millions. Those who didn't lost it all. The difference wasn't knowledge. It wasn't talent. It was humility, the humility to obey the process. You have to rewire how you think. Because prediction feels powerful, but it's weakness disguised as control. Execution feels boring, but it's strength disguised as discipline. Stop needing to know. Start needing to act. Stop asking why. Start saying next. That's what high performers do. They don't waste energy trying to forecast the storm. They build systems that thrive inside it. Every prediction is a distraction. Every execution is a decision. And decision, that's your real edge. Remember this. Trading is 10% strategy and 90% psychology. Everyone wants to learn the 10%. Only the few master the 90%. Because mastering psychology means surrendering control. It means admitting that you don't know. It means trusting the plan over the impulse. It means losing today without losing confidence tomorrow. You don't need to be right. You need to be consistent. Say it again. You don't need to be right. You need to be consistent. That's the mantra. That's the mirror test. Every time you're tempted to break your rules, repeat it. Every time you feel the urge to predict, repeat it. Every time you want to chase, to revenge trade, to prove you're smarter, repeat it. Because that's how you build identity around discipline instead of ego. Richard Dennis used to say, good trading is boring. That's because it's not about adrenaline, it's about accuracy. It's not about proving intelligence, it's about proving discipline. It's not about predicting markets, it's about controlling yourself. And that's what you're here to learn, control. The longer you try to predict, the longer you delay growth. The sooner you start executing, the sooner you build mastery. Because the truth is simple. The market doesn't punish you for being wrong. It punishes you for being emotional. So make a decision right now. Stop chasing predictions. Stop chasing perfection. Start chasing precision. Because the day you stop predicting and start executing, that's the day you start winning. Not just in trading, but in life. You can't control what happens next, but you can control how perfectly you respond. That's power. That's discipline. That's freedom. And that's how Richard Dennis built an empire, not by knowing what's next, but by acting with certainty and uncertainty. You mastered the first rule, stop predicting and start executing. Now it's time to go deeper. Because execution is only half the battle. The next lesson will show you how to detach from the outcome and trust the process completely. Chapter 2. Detach from outcome, obey the process. You can't control results. You can only control behavior. That's the rule. That's the truth that most traders never learn. They want to control the scoreboard. They want every trade to win, every move to validate their intelligence, every outcome to confirm their worth. But that mindset destroys consistency. Because every time you chase results, you betray the process. Richard Dennis didn't trade to feel good. He traded to stay disciplined. He didn't need to win every time. He just needed to follow his system every time. That's how he turned a few $100s into hundreds of millions. Not through prediction, not through emotion, but through obedience. Listen carefully. The market doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care how much you need this trade to work. It doesn't care if you've lost 5 in a row or made 10 in a row. The market is indifferent. It rewards one thing, discipline. So when you focus on outcomes, you hand your power to randomness. But when you focus on process, you take your power back. You have a choice. Every single trade, a choice. You can chase the outcome or you can obey the process. Only one builds mastery. Richard Dennis trained his students, the turtle traders, to think like machines. He told them, follow the rules no matter what. Even if it feels wrong. Even if you're scared. Even if you're losing. Because feelings don't build wealth, rules do. Most traders never last long enough to learn that. They start strong. They follow the system. They get results. Then the market turns. They panic. They abandon the rules and start reacting. And just like that, their discipline collapses. You don't fail when you lose a trade. You fail when you lose your process. That's the difference between an amateur and a professional. An amateur needs wins to feel safe. A professional finds safety in repetition. Let's make something clear. You can't remove uncertainty from trading. You can't eliminate loss. You can't demand outcomes from chaos. But you can build a mindset so stable that chaos doesn't move you. That's the real goal. To become unshaken. To act the same, win or lose. To operate by system, not emotion. When you detach from outcome, you detach from fear. When you detach from fear, you unlock consistency. And when you're consistent, results take care of themselves. That's the paradox. The moment you stop chasing the win, you start winning. Look at any peak performer, trader, athlete, entrepreneur, soldier. The best don't chase trophies. They chase execution. They know trophies are the side effect of process, not the goal of it. They know that emotion clouds judgment, but structure brings clarity. That's why they repeat. That's why they train the same move 1,000 times. That's why they live by routine and rhythm. Because routine removes emotion. Routine builds confidence. Routine creates freedom. It's not glamorous. It's not exciting. But it's what works. The world sees their wins. But the wins are just footprints left behind by process. Now here's the truth no one wants to admit. Most people don't want to obey the process, because it's boring. They want excitement. They want adrenaline. They want to feel like they're trading. But trading isn't about feeling alive. It's about staying alive. When you need excitement, you trade emotionally. When you trade emotionally, you overtrade, you overleverage, you overreact. And then you lose. Not because the system failed, but because you failed the system. You didn't follow the plan. You followed your feelings. And that's the exact moment you shifted from trader to gambler. Detach from outcome. Obey the process. Say it again. Detach from outcome. Obey the process. That's your mantra. That's your reset button. Every time you check your profit too often, repeat it. Every time you get frustrated by a losing streak, repeat it. Every time you're tempted to break your rules, repeat it. Because discipline doesn't start on your screen. It starts in your mind. Think of it like this. The outcome is noise. The process is signal. The outcome is luck. The process is skill. The outcome is temporary. The process is eternal. You can't build a career on luck. You can't build mastery on noise. You build it on rhythm, repetition, and ruthless self-control. That's what Richard Dennis taught. Obey the plan, trust the system, and let the probabilities do their work. He didn't need to know what would happen next. He just needed to know he would follow through. You don't need certainty in the market. You need certainty in yourself. Let's get tactical. Here's how you train this mindset. 1. Set your rules once. Define your entry, exit, and risk parameters clearly. Once they're written, stop negotiating with them. You either follow them or you don't. There's no middle ground. 2. Accept the loss instantly. Don't analyze your pain. Don't attach meaning to it. A loss is data, not drama. Treat it like feedback. Log it. Move on. 3. Review only your behavior. Don't judge yourself by profit or loss. Judge yourself by obedience, by how perfectly you executed. That's how you measure progress. That's how you build trust in yourself. You can't control the trade, but you can control the trader. And that's enough. That's everything. Detach from outcome. Obey the process. You have a choice. Every moment, every trade, every day. You can chase control or build mastery. You can react or respond. You can hope or execute. That's the real edge. Not indicators, not strategies, psychology. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be precise. You don't need to win today. You just need to follow the plan today. Because when today's process compounds over time, the results become inevitable. So stop trying to control the uncontrollable. Focus on what you can. Your routine. Your rules. Your reactions. Because that's where your power lives. Detach from outcome. Obey the process. That's the foundation of stability. That's the secret to survival. And survival, not perfection, is the first victory. Now you've learned how to stop predicting and start executing. You've learned how to detach from the outcome and obey the process. But there's one more battle you must face, the one inside your own head. Because even the best system in the world collapses if the mind behind it is weak. So let's go deeper. Let's talk about mastering the only thing you can truly control, yourself. Chapter 3. Control the only variable, your mind. The market is chaos. You can't control it. You can't predict it. You can't bend it to your will. But there's one thing you can control, yourself. That's the entire game. Not the market. Not the strategy. Not the system. The only variable that matters is your mind. Richard Dennis understood this better than anyone. He didn't just train traders, he trained psychology. He knew that when the mind is undisciplined, every system fails. And when the mind is stable, even an average system can produce greatness. You see, the market doesn't beat you, you beat yourself. Fear beats you. Greed beats you. Impatience beats you. You don't lose because the setup failed. You lose because you failed your setup. The market is neutral. It reacts to nothing. You are emotional. You react to everything. That's the problem. That's the battlefield. Every time you panic, you exit too soon. Every time you get greedy, you enter too late. Every time you hesitate, you miss opportunity. And every time you chase, you destroy discipline. It's not about the market. It's about the mind. That's the key. You have to train yourself to respond, not react. To observe, not absorb. To execute, not explode. Because the truth is, you don't control the outcome. You only control the input. You control what you do, not what you get. That's emotional maturity. That's trading mastery. Richard Dennis would remind his traders, the market will test you every day. Your reactions decide your future. And he was right. If you can't control your reactions, you can't control your account. If you can't control your impulses, you can't control your destiny. Here's the harsh truth. Your emotions are positions. Fear is a short position. Greed is over-leveraged. Anger is margin call. Discipline is your only hedge. Every time you let your emotions lead, you're trading you, not the market. You're placing bets against your own psychology. And the house always wins. You can't trade chaos with chaos. You can't fight volatility with volatility. You need calm. You need clarity. You need control. That's your real edge. That's the one thing no one else can copy. Think about it. Two traders can use the same strategy, the same system, the same timing, yet one wins while the other loses. Why? Because one panicked and the other stayed composed. One let emotion lead and the other obeyed logic. The edge was never in the chart. It was in the nervous system. The calm mind makes the best decisions. The calm mind sees clearly. The calm mind follows rules without question. You don't need more data. You need more discipline. You don't need more signals. You need more self-control. That's the shift. That's the transformation. Control starts with awareness. You can't master what you refuse to see. So start tracking your reactions. Every time you feel fear, write it down. Every time you hesitate, note the thought. Every time you feel the urge to overtrade, pause. Because the moment you observe emotion, it loses its power. That's how you rewire your mind. You don't suppress emotion, you see it and refuse to obey it. The market rewards that kind of awareness. Because awareness builds control. Control builds confidence. Confidence builds consistency. And consistency builds wealth. Let's go deeper. Your emotions aren't your enemy, your attachment to them is. Fear is natural. Greed is human. Anger is inevitable. But what matters is what you do when they arise. Most traders react instantly. They let feelings dictate actions. The disciplined trader pauses. Breathes. Waits. They act only from rules, never from impulse. That's the difference between chaos and control. You have a choice. You can let emotion drive your trade, or you can let structure guide your hand. You can trade from impulse, or you can trade from identity. Because when you say, I am a disciplined trader, your actions must align with that identity, not with your feelings. The mind follows identity, and the body follows the mind. If your identity is chaos, your trades will be chaos. If your identity is calm, your trades will be precision. That's the secret most never realize. You don't just trade with skill, you trade with self-image. So build the image of someone unshaken. Build the identity of a professional. Act like one long before the results arrive. Because discipline comes from identity, not emotion. Now, here's a practical method to strengthen control. 1. The rule of pause. Before every major decision, pause for 10 seconds. In those 10 seconds, your emotions fade and your logic returns. That pause can save your account. 2. The rule of reduction. Reduce your risk when you feel emotional. Lower position size. Protect yourself from your own volatility. You can always increase later when the mind stabilizes. 3. The rule of reflection. After every session, review not your profit but your psychology. Ask, did I stay composed? Did I obey my rules? Did I react emotionally? The goal is not perfection, it's awareness. Follow these 3 rules and your control compounds faster than your account balance. Here's the truth. The market doesn't punish losses. It punishes emotional losses. Losing money is part of the game. Losing composure is the end of the game. Because once emotion takes over, you no longer have a system. You have chaos pretending to be strategy. And chaos doesn't scale. Richard Dennis taught this every day. He said, if you can't stay calm, you can't stay in the game. That's not just trading advice, that's life advice. Control your breath. Control your tone. Control your thoughts. Control your risk. Because control is compounding power. Every time you stay calm in chaos, you gain an edge. Every time you hold discipline under pressure, you build armor. Every time you refuse to panic, you train your nervous system to obey you, not the noise. You have a choice. You always have a choice. It's not about controlling the market. It's about mastering your mind. It's not about removing emotion. It's about transcending it. It's not about being fearless. It's about being unshaken. That's power. That's presence. That's professionalism. So remember this mantra. Your emotions are positions. Manage them or they'll manage you. You can't control what happens, but you can always control how you respond. And that response determines everything: your trade, your growth, your identity. This is your edge. This is your weapon. This is your mastery. You've learned to stop predicting. You've learned to obey process. And now you've learned to control the only variable that truly matters, your mind. But discipline doesn't stop there. Because even when your mind is calm, temptation will test you. Temptation to break rules. Temptation to chase. Temptation to act before thinking. That's the next level. That's the real battlefield of success. Let's talk about it. Chapter 4. Discipline is your only edge. Let's get one thing straight. You can lose your strategy, you can lose your setup, you can lose your signal. But if you lose your discipline, you lose everything. Discipline isn't optional. It's the foundation. It's the oxygen that keeps every system alive. Without it, skill becomes noise. Without it, talent becomes chaos. Without it, success becomes luck. Richard Dennis proved it, time and time again. He didn't trade because he felt confident. He traded because he followed rules. He knew this truth: every edge dies but discipline doesn't. Every system has a shelf life. Every strategy has an expiration date. Markets evolve. Data shifts. Trends fade. But the mindset behind discipline, that never expires. You can't build long-term success on fragile emotion. You can only build it on solid habits. And that's what discipline is, the habit of consistency. When you're disciplined, your identity doesn't change with your results. You win, you execute. You lose, you execute. You feel confident, you execute. You feel doubt, you execute. That's power. That's professionalism. That's what separates a survivor from a story. You have to understand this. Discipline isn't about control. It's about commitment. Commitment to the process even when your emotions revolt against it. Commitment to the plan even when your mind screams to improvise. Commitment to the rulebook even when the reward looks better on the other side. Every time you break discipline, you teach yourself that emotions are the authority. Every time you follow it, you prove that you are. Discipline is self-respect in action. When you follow your rules, you're saying, I trust myself. When you break them, you're saying, I can't control myself. And the market always punishes self-doubt. Always. People think discipline means rigidity. It doesn't. Discipline means precision. It means alignment. It means your decisions match your standards. The undisciplined trader wakes up and trades what they feel. The disciplined trader wakes up and trades what they planned. One reacts to emotion. The other obeys structure. One survives by chance. The other thrives by choice. You have a choice. Every day. Follow emotion or follow principle. That's the key. That's the difference. Let's be honest. Discipline doesn't feel good in the moment. It's uncomfortable. It's repetitive. It's boring. But boredom is a sign of mastery. If your trading feels exciting, you're probably gambling. If it feels calm, repetitive, almost dull, congratulations. You're becoming a professional. Richard Dennis didn't chase thrills. He chased consistency. He trained himself to love the repetition. Because repetition compounds control. And control compounds wealth. Every time you follow your system when you don't feel like it, that's a win. Every time you obey your stop loss without hesitation, that's a win. Every time you walk away when you're emotional, that's a win. Those are invisible wins. They don't show up on your statement, but they build your future. Here's the paradox of discipline. The more rules you follow, the more freedom you gain. The less control you demand, the more control you build. Because discipline creates space, mental space. When you obey your structure, you stop overthinking. When you stop overthinking, you make cleaner decisions. When your decisions are clean, your results stabilize. That's how freedom is built. Through restriction. Rules aren't cages, they're armor. They don't confine you. They protect you. Richard Dennis taught his traders that exact lesson. He said, your rules exist to protect you from yourself. Because in trading, the enemy is never the market. The enemy is impulse. Impulse is what destroys accounts. Impulse is what kills momentum. Impulse is what turns confidence into chaos. Every blown account starts with one broken rule. Just one. 1. I'll risk a little more. 1. I'll exit later. 1. I'll double down to recover. That's all it takes. And once you break one rule, the rest fall like dominoes. Because the moment you break your discipline, you've told your mind it's negotiable. You've told your emotions they're in charge now. That's when the spiral begins, and it doesn't end until you rebuild control. You have to treat discipline like currency. Every time you follow your plan, you deposit power into your mental bank account. Every time you break it, you withdraw confidence. And when your account of self-trust runs low, you stop performing. Not because you lack skill, but because you no longer believe in your own control. Discipline is the foundation of trust. Without trust, there's no clarity. Without clarity, there's no confidence. Without confidence, there's no consistency. And without consistency, there's no compounding. It's not about being right. It's about being reliable. Let's break it down to action. 1. Define your discipline in writing. Don't just know your rules. Write them. The moment it's written, it becomes law. Unwritten rules fade. Written ones hold you accountable. 2. Measure discipline daily. Don't measure profit. Measure obedience. Ask, did I follow my plan today? If yes, you win, even if you lost money. 3. Reward discipline, not emotion. When you stay composed under stress, acknowledge it. Reinforce that behavior until your brain associates discipline with strength, not restriction. That's how you condition control. That's how you turn it into instinct. Now remember this. The market doesn't reward intelligence. It rewards endurance. And endurance is built through discipline, not excitement, not luck, not talent. Anyone can follow rules when things go well. But professionals follow them especially when things go wrong. That's what separates Richard Dennis from the crowd. That's what separates the winners from the watchers. It's not about one trade. It's about 10,000 disciplined ones. It's not about a single win. It's about a decade of survival. It's not about proving you're smart. It's about proving you're stable. Discipline is your insurance. It's your backbone. It's your edge. You'll be tested. You'll be tempted. You'll have days where you want to break every rule. Those are the days that define you. Because discipline isn't built in comfort. It's built in pressure. It's built when everything inside you screams, break the rule, and you don't. That's when you level up. That's when you evolve from trader to tactician, from follower to master. So protect your discipline like your life depends on it, because in this game, it does. Say it until it's burned into your identity. Without discipline, you are gambling. With discipline, you are compounding. That's the law. That's the line you never cross. You've now built your edge, the discipline that separates you from chaos. But there's one more trap waiting for you. It's not fear. It's not doubt. It's greed, the hidden urge that pushes you to risk everything you've earned. And that's what we face next. Chapter 5. Size kills the undisciplined. Greed doesn't show up as a feeling. It shows up as size. You don't realize it's happening until your position is too big, your pulse is too fast, and your logic is too late. Greed whispers, just a little more. But a little more has destroyed more traders than bad setups ever did. Richard Dennis said it simply, risk too much and you lose the ability to think. He was right. When your position is oversized, your emotions take control, and once emotions take control, your system dies. Let's call it what it is. Oversizing isn't confidence, it's insecurity. It's the ego trying to prove it knows the future. It's the need to turn a good system into a lottery ticket. But trading is not a lottery. It's a discipline. You don't win by swinging bigger. You win by surviving longer. You win by keeping your capital and your mind intact. Remember this. The moment your position size changes your behavior, it's already too big. If you start checking the chart every 30 seconds, too big. If you can't sleep because of an open trade, too big. If you move your stop loss because this one's different, far too big. That's not trading. That's emotional gambling wrapped in confidence. And it kills the undisciplined every single time. Richard Dennis built an empire not because he was fearless, but because he was measured. He sized his positions like a scientist, not like a dreamer. He understood risk is not a punishment, it's a cost of survival. Small risk means you live to fight another day. Big risk means you'll never see the next round. The amateurs call small risk playing it safe. The professionals call it staying in the game. Because that's the only goal: stay in the game long enough for your edge to work. Your system doesn't need you to be bold. It needs you to be consistent. It doesn't need more size. It needs more patience. That's the key. That's the truth nobody wants to hear. Let's talk psychology. Why do people oversize? Because they confuse opportunity with certainty. They see a clean setup and think, this is the one. I'll double my risk. But here's the thing, you don't know it's the one. You think it's the one. That's your ego talking. The market doesn't care how confident you feel. The market only rewards consistency. You don't need to go bigger on a great trade. You just need to take the same trade the same way, every time. Your size doesn't prove conviction. Your size exposes your weakness. Let me make it clear. Risk management is emotional management. Your position size determines your psychology. Trade too big and you become emotional. Trade too small and you become careless. Trade just right and you become clear. That balance is everything. Richard Dennis knew that when you keep size consistent, you remove emotion from the game. You trade the system, not the feelings. Because in this game, clarity is your currency. And oversizing bankrupts clarity faster than anything else. Let's walk through the pattern that kills most traders. They win a few trades. Their confidence grows. They start increasing size because they've earned it. Then the inevitable loss comes and wipes out everything. It's predictable. It's tragic. And it's completely avoidable. Because the problem isn't the loss. The problem is the escalation. The emotional escalation that turns discipline into delusion. Every time you raise size out of emotion, you reset your risk of ruin. Every time you double down, you cut your life expectancy in half. You don't grow by risking more. You grow by risking smarter. And smarter means smaller, longer. Let's flip the script. What if you decided that your edge is patience, not profit? What if you sized so small that no single trade could shake your mind? You become dangerous. Why? Because the moment you're not emotionally attached, you can see clearly. You can follow your plan. You can take losses like a machine. You can execute without hesitation. And that's where the professionals live, in the land of emotional neutrality. They're not chasing adrenaline. They're chasing longevity. You don't need to be fearless. You need to be unshakable. And that's what correct sizing gives you, emotional unshakability. Let's go deeper. Size isn't just about how much you risk, it's about what you respect. When you risk too much, you disrespect probability. You disrespect variance. You disrespect the reality that losing streaks happen to everyone. Even Richard Dennis, the Turtle King himself, faced drawdowns. But he survived them because his size didn't break him. He respected math more than emotion. He knew, I can lose 10 times in a row and I'll still be here. Can you say the same? If not, your size is too big. If a single loss threatens your confidence, too big. If one trade can destroy your week, too big. Trading isn't about being right once. It's about being alive long enough to let probability pay you. You have to choose your enemy, greed or growth. You can't serve both. Greed wants instant validation. Growth wants delayed mastery. Greed demands a result today. Growth demands discipline forever. You can make money with both, but only one of them lets you keep it. And that's the paradox of this chapter. The smaller you trade, the faster you grow. Because the smaller you trade, the longer you last. And the longer you last, the more compound power works in your favor. That's the mindset of every legendary trader. They don't fight for the next dollar. They fight for the next decade. Here's how you build your sizing discipline. 1. Fix your risk percentage. Choose a number that feels almost too safe. 1%, 0.5%, maybe even 0.25%. Your job isn't to maximize return. It's to minimize destruction. 2. Size smaller when emotional. If you're angry, greedy, or euphoric, cut your size in half. It's a physical reset that keeps your mental state from exploding. 3. Earn your size increases. Don't raise size after wins. Raise it after weeks of consistent execution. You scale discipline, not luck. That's how you stay in control. That's how you build longevity. Listen carefully. The market punishes those who want too much, too fast. It rewards those who can wait. The undisciplined grow their size. The disciplined grow their skill. Your job is not to get rich tomorrow. Your job is to still be trading 5 years from now, stronger, smarter, calmer. Because in the end, your size reveals your psychology. Small size means humility. Large, reckless size means ego. And ego is always expensive. So remember this truth until it becomes instinct. Size kills the undisciplined. Every blown account began with a justified oversized trade. Don't justify it. Don't romanticize it. Don't excuse it. When you control your size, you control your survival. And when you control your survival, you control your future. That's the game. That's the law. That's the difference between blowing up and building up. You've mastered your discipline. You've conquered your size. Now it's time to face the most dangerous illusion in trading, the illusion of control. Because the next level isn't about power. It's about surrender. Chapter 6. You can't control the market, only your response. Let's strip away the illusion. You are not in control. You never were. Not of the market. Not of the price. Not of what comes next. And the faster you accept that truth, the faster you'll start to win. Richard Dennis understood it from day one. Control is a fantasy, but response is a skill. He didn't try to predict what the market would do. He prepared for every possible outcome. He didn't need control. He needed clarity. And that's the edge most traders never develop: emotional response control. Every losing trader has one thing in common. They believe they can make the market behave. They believe that more screens, more charts, more data will give them certainty. But the market doesn't care. It doesn't owe you logic. It doesn't reward effort. It only rewards composure. You can't control direction. You can't control timing. You can't control volatility. The only control you have is how you respond. That's the line that separates amateurs from professionals. Every time you fight the market, you lose twice. You lose money, and you lose peace. The first loss hurts your balance sheet. The second loss hurts your psychology. And that second loss is the one that kills careers. Because the real cost of trying to control the market is mental fatigue. It drains your discipline, it corrupts your clarity, and it makes you impulsive. You can't fight chaos and expect calm. You can't chase control and expect consistency. That's why the greats don't chase. They adapt. Adaptation, that's the secret. Richard Dennis didn't predict trends. He responded to them. He treated every move as neutral data, not personal drama. When the market turned against him, he didn't panic. He executed the next step in his system. That's mastery. Not knowing the future, but knowing exactly how to behave when the future arrives. You don't need control. You need a plan that removes the need for control. That's the key. That's the shift from amateur to pro. Let's get real for a second. You don't blow accounts because the market surprises you. You blow accounts because you surprise yourself. Because you react emotionally instead of structurally. The market is supposed to be unpredictable. That's its job. Your job is to stay predictable within that chaos. Predictable discipline. Predictable execution. Predictable mindset. That's how you build stability in a system that has none. The market is not your enemy. It's your mirror. It reflects your behavior with brutal honesty. You hesitate, it punishes you. You overreact, it humbles you. You stay calm, it respects you. That's the paradox. The more you surrender, the more power you gain. Because power doesn't come from control. Power comes from acceptance. When you stop needing the market to cooperate, you finally free yourself to trade correctly. You have to detach from outcomes. Detach from the obsession to be right. Detach from the need to win this trade. Richard Dennis built his empire on losing trades, not avoiding them. He knew losses were data. He didn't need to control them. He needed to learn from them. Every loss was feedback. Every mistake was calibration. Every response was a test of discipline. He didn't take losses personally. He took them professionally. That's how you stay in the game, by responding better, not by controlling harder. Ask yourself, when the market moves against you, what do? Do you panic and move your stop? Do you pray for reversal? Do you revenge trade to get even? That's ego, not strategy. And ego never wins this game. The professional does the opposite. The professional accepts, adapts, acts, in that order. Acceptance is peace. Adaptation is power. Action is control. That's how you reclaim your strength without chasing illusion. Here's the truth nobody wants to face. The market will always be uncertain. Always irrational. Always out of your hands. But uncertainty isn't the enemy, your reaction to it is. You can either fear uncertainty or prepare for it. You can either resist volatility or build a system that absorbs it. You can either try to predict outcomes or train yourself to stay calm regardless of them. You have a choice. Every day, every trade. You can be emotional or you can be effective. You can fight or you can flow. That's the mindset shift Richard Dennis lived by. Flow with reality, don't fight it. Let's talk about the illusion of control, the most dangerous psychological trap in trading. It's the moment you start believing you can bend randomness to your will. That belief destroys your objectivity. You start forcing trades that aren't there. You start ignoring risk because you know how it'll play out. You start holding losers because it'll come back. And by the time you realize the truth, your discipline is gone. The illusion of control doesn't just cost money, it costs identity. It turns you from executor to gambler. That's the difference between following your system and fighting reality. So what's the solution? Simple but not easy. You build rules that remove emotion. You automate responses to chaos. You design structure that replaces willpower. That's what Richard Dennis did. He built systems that executed for him. He didn't trust emotion. He trusted structure. He didn't control markets. He controlled behavior. And that's what you must do. Control your inputs, not the outcomes. Your system is your shield. Your routine is your anchor. Your calmness is your weapon. That's how you win the game you can't control. Repeat this until it becomes instinct. You cannot control price. You cannot control trend. You cannot control outcome. You can only control process, position, and psychology. That's it. That's the triangle of survival. When you master your response, you become untouchable. Because nothing outside you can break what you've built inside you. That's when the market stops being an enemy and becomes an environment. One you can navigate with precision, not emotion. Let's break it down to action. 1. Detach from prediction. Stop asking what will the market do? Start asking, what will I do when it does something unexpected? 2. Rehearse your reactions. When you plan, visualize chaos. Visualize a losing streak. Visualize volatility. Then decide now how you'll respond when it happens. 3. Build rules for uncertainty. Have pre-written responses for every scenario. That's how you replace panic with precision. When chaos comes, and it will, you won't break. You'll execute. That's the secret of emotional mastery. Not power. Not prediction. Not perfection. But preparation. Because the real edge isn't knowing what's next. It's knowing you'll be fine no matter what happens next. That's peace. That's control. That's freedom. And that's how Richard Dennis, and every disciplined trader after him, turned volatility into victory. You can't control the market, but you can control your mind. You can control your process. You can control your reaction. That's the only control that matters. That's the control that lasts. You've now learned to surrender the illusion of control and build strength through response. You've accepted chaos. You've built composure. Now it's time to talk about the invisible force that drives every decision, your emotions. Because if you can't control them, they'll control you. Chapter 7, Master your emotions, or they'll trade for you. Let's face it, you're not fighting the market. You're fighting yourself. Every blown account, every reckless decision, every broken rule, it all starts with emotion. Not the chart. Not the news. Not the volatility. Emotion. Fear and greed are not market forces. They're internal. And until you master them, they will trade for you. And when emotions start trading, losses follow. Richard Dennis understood that from the beginning. He said, "We don't trade markets, we trade our beliefs about markets." That's psychology in one sentence. You don't respond to price, you respond to what you feel about price. And that's why most traders fail. Because they never learn how to feel without reacting. You can't eliminate emotion, but you can neutralize it. You can build systems stronger than your impulses. That's what the great traders do. Fear says, don't take the trade. Discipline says, follow your system. Greed says, double your size. Discipline says, stick to the plan. Frustration says, revenge trade. Discipline says, walk away. That's the battle. And that battle never ends. But with practice, you stop fighting, you start leading. You lead your emotions instead of being led by them. Here's the truth. You'll never be emotionless. But you can become emotionally immune. That means emotions still appear. Fear, greed, frustration, but they no longer control you. They knock, but they don't enter. And the way you build that immunity is through exposure and repetition. You train your response the same way an athlete trains their reflexes: deliberate, repetitive, controlled. You don't wait for emotion to appear. You anticipate it. You plan for it. You practice calm before chaos arrives. Because emotional control isn't born in comfort. It's built in chaos. Let's break down the two emotional killers of every trader: fear and greed. Fear is the voice that paralyzes you. It keeps you from pulling the trigger. It makes you see losses where opportunities exist. It makes you trade not to lose instead of trading to win, right? Fear tells you to avoid risk. But in trading, avoiding risk is the biggest risk. You have to take it the right way. Fear thrives in uncertainty. So how do you kill fear? You replace uncertainty with structure. That's why Richard Dennis preached system over emotion. When you follow rules, you eliminate the need to feel right. You just execute. Now, greed is more dangerous because it hides as confidence. It whispers, "You're good. You can size bigger. You can skip the stop this time." Greed doesn't shout, it seduces. And the problem with greed is it feels like momentum. You mistake adrenaline for clarity. But adrenaline is not clarity, it's chaos in disguise. The antidote to greed is gratitude. Be grateful for process, not profit. Be proud of discipline, not dollars. When you detach from outcome, greed loses its leverage. Richard Dennis once said, "We don't get paid to be right. We get paid to execute." That's how you kill greed, by shifting your reward system. Stop rewarding yourself for results. Start rewarding yourself for consistency. Let's be clear, your emotions are not your enemies. They are signals. They tell you where your weaknesses are. Fear tells you where you lack confidence. Greed tells you where you crave validation. Frustration tells you where you lack patience. Your job isn't to suppress them. Your job is to study them. Richard Dennis did exactly that. He treated emotions like data. He'd ask himself, "Why am I feeling this?" Not, "How do I stop this?" That's mastery, self-awareness before self-control. Because you can't control what you don't understand. Every trader has emotional triggers. You might react to loss. You might react to boredom. You might react to missing out. But if you don't identify those triggers, you'll repeat the same emotional cycle forever. You lose, you get angry, you overtrade, you lose again. You win, you get confident, you oversize, you lose again. That's the loop. And it only ends when you step back and recognize it. The market isn't repeating against you. You are repeating against the market. So how do you master your emotions in real time? Here's the formula. Simple, powerful, proven. 1. Pause before reacting. Create a 3-second buffer between feeling and action. That pause separates professionals from amateurs. 2. Name the emotion. Say it out loud. This is fear. This is greed. Naming it forces the thinking brain to activate. It brings logic back online. 3. Re-anchor your focus. Ask, what does my plan say? Not, what do I feel? What do I know? Those 3 steps save accounts. They save careers. They save sanity. You have to remember, emotion isn't the problem. Attachment is. When you attach your identity to every win or loss, the market becomes personal. And the moment trading becomes personal, you stop being objective. Detach. Win. Follow your plan. Lose. Follow your plan. No emotion required. That's the discipline that made Richard Dennis unstoppable. He wasn't chasing feelings. He was executing facts. That's how you build emotional armor, by acting your plan no matter what emotion you feel. Now let's talk about emotional recovery. Because no matter how strong you are, emotion will still hit you sometimes. The difference between pros and amateurs is how fast they recover. The amateur spirals, they dwell, they chase, they implode. The professional resets, they breathe, they analyze, they move on. You have to treat emotional hits like physical injuries. When it happens, stop. Breathe. Reset your system. Don't trade to fix your mood. Fix your mood to trade better next time. That's emotional recovery. That's how you sustain this game for decades. Repeat this truth until it's instinct. You will feel fear. You will feel greed. You will feel doubt. But you don't have to obey them. You don't control the market. You control your mind. You don't control price action. You control reaction. You don't control results. You control behavior. That's all that matters. That's where real mastery lives. Richard Dennis once said, A good system plus bad psychology equals failure. A bad system plus good psychology still has a chance. Think about that. You can survive a weak system. You cannot survive weak emotions. Because your emotions are the true execution engine. Master them, and you master the market. Emotional mastery doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you feel everything, but act only on principle. That's what makes a trader legendary. Not predicting, not profiting, but performing under pressure. And when you reach that level of control, something shifts. You stop reacting to the market and the market starts reacting to you. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. So remember this. You're not in a battle against charts or algorithms. You're in a battle against your impulses. And the only way to win is to turn emotion into data, and data into discipline. That's how you trade like Richard Dennis. That's how you stop letting emotions trade for you. You've now built emotional strength. You've learned to stay calm in chaos. But there's another enemy, subtle, silent, and lethal: impatience. Because discipline without patience is just control without direction. And that's what we'll conquer next. Chapter 8. Patience pays more than prediction. Let's get one thing straight. Impatience is the silent killer of every trader's progress. Not bad analysis. Not bad luck. Not even bad trades. It's impatience. You want results now. You want confirmation now. You want validation now. And that's why you keep losing. Because trading doesn't reward speed. It rewards timing. And timing is born from patience. Richard Dennis understood that deeply. He said, good trading is waiting, waiting for the right setup, waiting for the right moment, waiting for the odds to stack in your favor. That's the essence of mastery. It's not how fast you move, it's how long you can wait without losing focus. Here's the brutal truth. Most traders don't fail because they don't know what to do. They fail because they can't wait long enough to do it right. They cut winners too soon. They chase entries too early. They double down too quickly. They break their own plan because they can't handle boredom. And boredom, that's the real test of a professional. Anyone can be disciplined when things are moving fast. But when the market goes silent, when there's no signal, no rush, no action, that's when your character shows. You either sit tight like a sniper, or you start firing randomly like an amateur. The truth is, trading is 90% waiting and 10% executing. But most traders live it in reverse. 90% reacting, 10% thinking. Richard Dennis wasn't chasing excitement. He was chasing precision. And precision demands patience. You don't make money by being active. You make money by being accurate. And accuracy requires stillness, not motion. You have to understand, impatience is ego in disguise. It's your ego saying, I can't stand not knowing. I can't stand not doing. I can't stand not winning right now. But trading doesn't care about your feelings. The market isn't your therapist. It's your mirror. And it reflects your lack of patience back at you, in the form of losses. Patience isn't passive. Strategic. It's not sitting around doing nothing. It's preparing for the moment when everything aligns. The amateur says, I'm waiting but nothing's happening. The professional says, I'm preparing because something will happen. That's the key. Patience isn't about inactivity, it's about readiness. Richard Dennis trained his turtles to wait for confirmation, not for comfort. They learned to hold steady through uncertainty. Because true confidence isn't built from control, it's built from conviction. Conviction in your system. Conviction in your timing. Conviction in your discipline. Think of the market like the ocean. The waves never stop. But not every wave is worth riding. The beginner tries to catch them all, ends up exhausted, frustrated, and broke. The master waits for his wave. He studies the tide. He watches the wind. He positions himself quietly. And when that perfect wave forms, he rides it with full power. That's trading patience. You wait. You prepare. You strike. You see, patience pays in both directions. It pays when you wait to enter. And it pays when you wait to exit. Most traders are too early getting in. And too early getting out. They want to feel right more than they want to be right. So they keep taking small, comfortable profits instead of holding for real ones. But here's the truth. The big money isn't in the entry. It's in the holding. Richard Dennis proved that with his trend-following strategy. He didn't need to catch the bottom or the top. He caught the middle, the meat of the move. And that only happens if you can hold your nerve while others panic. Patience is what makes profits exponential. But here's the paradox. Patience feels uncomfortable because your brain is wired for action. You equate movement with progress. But in trading, waiting is work. Every minute you don't overtrade, you're protecting your capital. Every trade you skip that doesn't meet your criteria, you're saving your sanity. That's invisible progress. But it's the kind that separates the consistent from the chaotic. Let's talk about how to build patience like a muscle. Because that's what it is, a muscle. And you can train it. Step 1. Slow your inputs. Stop refreshing your charts every minute. Stop chasing every candle. Set clear check-in times. Once every hour, once every session. The less you react, the more you'll observe. Step 2. Journal your impulses. Every time you want to trade but don't, write it down. That's progress. That's restraint. Review that list weekly. It will show you how much discipline you've built. Step 3. Reward stillness. Most people only reward themselves for action. Flip that. Reward yourself for restraint. Because restraint is the foundation of consistency. Richard Dennis used to remind his traders, the market will always be there. The only question is, will you? That's a test of patience, staying in the game long enough to win. Not burning out. Not blowing up. Not giving in to the urge to just do something. Because most traders lose not from lack of skill, but from lack of stamina. The patient trader survives. The impatient trader self-destructs. You have to choose which one you want to be. Here's the mindset shift that changes everything. You're not waiting on the market. You're making the market wait for you. That's power. That's patience turned into leverage. When you stop chasing, the opportunities start coming to you. Because your attention sharpens. Your confidence deepens. Your execution becomes clean, efficient, emotionless. You no longer need action to feel valuable. You need alignment to feel powerful. Patience is the bridge between knowledge and profit. Everyone knows what to do, only the patient get paid for doing it right. Because knowledge without timing is wasted. And timing without patience is suicide. When you master patience, you stop forcing trades and start attracting results. That's when everything changes. That's when you finally trade from control instead of compulsion. Repeat this until it becomes instinct. You don't need more trades. You need better ones. You don't need faster signals. You need stronger conviction. You don't need the market to move, you need to wait for your moment. That's the difference between noise and mastery. Because patience is not about time. It's about trust. Trusting your edge. Trusting your rules. Trusting yourself. When you learn to trust time, time starts to reward you. Richard Dennis built an empire not because he was the fastest, but because he was the most patient. He knew that opportunity is always waiting for those who can wait for it. So slow down. Breathe. Wait. Your edge only matters when you give it time to work. You've learned to wait for your moment. Now it's time to protect that moment. Because what's the point of patience if you can't sustain your focus? Next, we talk about the secret weapon of long-term success, consistency. Chapter 9, Consistency over Chaos. Success isn't built on brilliance. It's built on consistency. And in trading, consistency isn't just a skill. It's a survival strategy. Richard Dennis didn't become legendary because he was always right. He became legendary because he was always the same. Same method. Same discipline. Same emotional tone. Win or lose, he didn't change his behavior, because he knew the market rewards stability, not intensity. Most traders don't fail because they lack strategy. They fail because they lack stability. They're one person on Monday, another on Friday. Calm when they're winning. Desperate when they're not. Focused one week. Chaotic the next. And that inconsistency costs them everything. Let me make something very clear. The market is chaos. It's unpredictable, volatile, irrational. You can't control it. But you can control the one constant in that storm. You. That's your edge. Your behavior. Your mindset. Your routine. Consistency isn't about controlling the market. It's about removing your chaos from it. Richard Dennis taught his traders. Trade the system, not your mood. That's the difference between an emotional trader and a professional one. The emotional trader reacts to noise. The professional responds to structure. You have a choice. Every day, every trade, every reaction. You can be random or you can be reliable. One destroys your account. The other builds your legacy. Here's the harsh truth. Inconsistency is comfort-seeking. You change your rules because you're uncomfortable. You change your size because you're scared. You change your plan because you want control. But every time you change your plan mid-trade, you send one message to your subconscious. I don't trust myself. And once you lose self-trust, no system can save you. Consistency builds confidence. Confidence builds execution. Execution builds freedom. That's the ladder. And you can't skip steps. Think about this. You don't need to do more. You need to do the same better. That's the secret. Not chasing perfection. Not reinventing your method every week. Just repeating what works with ruthless precision. Consistency compounds. Every time you execute with discipline, you reinforce your identity as a professional. Every time you follow your plan under pressure, you harden your psychology. That's what separates the elite from the average. The average want intensity. The elite want rhythm. Let's be real, chaos is seductive. It feels exciting to jump between strategies. It feels smart to tweak your system after every loss. It feels productive to chase new setups. But that's just disguised fear. Fear of stillness. Fear of commitment. Fear of boredom. The mind craves novelty because it hates accountability. But consistency is accountability in motion. You show up the same way every time, even when it's dull. Because mastery isn't found in novelty. It's found in repetition. Richard Dennis said something powerful. You don't have to be the best trader. You just have to keep doing what works, long enough. That's consistency in action. It's not glamorous. It's not exciting. But it's unstoppable. Because while everyone else is chasing trends, you're building habits. While everyone else is panicking, you're executing. While everyone else burns out, you endure. And endurance wins. Always. Let's talk about the psychology of consistency. It's not about talent. It's about tolerance. Can you tolerate doing the same thing every day without emotional validation? Can you tolerate boredom long enough for discipline to take root? Can you tolerate not knowing and still execute the same? That's the test. And most people fail not because they lack skill, but because they lack tolerance. They confuse excitement for progress. But excitement is chaos. And chaos kills discipline. You want to build consistency? Then build systems. 1. Set fixed trading hours. Don't chase the market. Let the market come to you. Your schedule should control your screen time, not your emotions. 2. Define one playbook. Stick to a single method until it's instinctive. Don't add new indicators. Don't reinvent yourself mid-journey. Simplicity scales. Complexity collapses. 3. Review daily, not emotionally. You don't need to feel good about every day. You need to review every day. Analyze what you did, not what you felt. That's how consistency is built, through rhythm, repetition, and reflection. Here's something counterintuitive. Consistency isn't rigid. It's adaptive within boundaries. It means you have structure but not stubbornness. Rules but not rigidity. Because chaos will test you. You'll have losing streaks, volatility spikes, unexpected events. Consistency doesn't mean ignoring change. It means responding with structure, not emotion. You don't abandon your method. You adjust it within your framework. You evolve but you don't panic. That's professional maturity. Remember, you don't rise to your goals. You fall to your habits. And habits are built through consistent repetition, not random effort. Trading isn't about genius. It's about grind. And grind means doing what works until it works even better. Every small act of consistency is a vote for your future self. Every day you execute cleanly, you're strengthening your edge. You don't need to prove your brilliance. You need to prove your reliability. Because reliability scales. Chaos doesn't. When you master consistency, everything changes. Your emotional swings flatten. Your confidence stabilizes. Your results become predictable, not because you predict the market but because you predict yourself. That's the highest form of control. Not controlling the world, controlling your own rhythm. You want to know the real secret of Richard Dennis's success? It wasn't luck. It wasn't timing. It wasn't even genius. It was this: he did the same thing right long enough for the math to catch up. That's all trading really is. Execution plus time. Consistency multiplied by probability. You don't win by doing more. You win by doing right, again and again. So repeat this until it becomes your operating system. You don't chase chaos, you create calm. You don't force results, you follow rhythm. You don't seek intensity, you seek stability. Because the market will always be chaos. But you can be consistent. And that's the difference between surviving and dominating. You've mastered patience. Now you've built consistency. But there's one last weapon that separates the great from the godlike: resilience. Because consistency means nothing if you can't rise after being broken. So let's finish strong. Let's talk about how to recover faster than others collapse. Chapter 10, Resilience, the Trader's Unbreakable Edge. Let's get one thing clear. No matter how good you are, you will fall. You will lose. You will make mistakes. You will question yourself. That's not a flaw. That's the price of the game. Richard Dennis lost millions at times. He made mistakes that would have destroyed ordinary traders. But he kept going. He kept refining. He kept showing up. Because resilience isn't about never breaking. It's about never staying broken. That's the final edge. Not the strategy. Not the timing. Not even the mindset. It's your ability to recover, reset, and return stronger than before. Most traders quit because they confuse a setback with a sign. They think one loss means the system doesn't work. They think one bad week means they're not cut out for this. But the truth is, resilience is what filters the successful from the spectators. The market punishes everyone. But it only eliminates those who take punishment personally. You have to learn to lose like a professional. To see every drawdown as data. To see every setback as a signal to refine, not to retreat. Because the moment you take a loss personally, you disconnect from logic. You stop being a trader and you start being emotional prey. Listen closely, the market will test you. It will test your patience. It will test your process. It will test your confidence. And most of all, it will test your ability to recover. Anyone can execute when they're winning. But your character is revealed when everything collapses. When your system draws down. When your confidence gets hit. When your plan feels pointless. That's when your real training begins. Richard Dennis told his traders something powerful. You will lose. That's part of the plan. But if you stop executing after losing, that's not the market's fault. That's yours. That's resilience. It's emotional stamina. It's discipline that doesn't disappear when things go dark. Most traders never develop it because they're obsessed with avoiding pain. But you can't avoid pain in this game, you can only outlast it. You can't build resilience without friction. You can't grow strength without stress. You can't earn mastery without scars. That's the truth no one wants to hear. Losses don't destroy you. Resistance does. When you fight the loss, deny it, or try to revenge trade it away, you dig your own grave. But when you face it, accept it, and learn from it, you evolve. Because resilience isn't just endurance. It's adaptation. Every setback teaches you something about your behavior, your system, your psychology. If you study it, it becomes wisdom. If you ignore it, it becomes weight. You choose which one it becomes. Here's a fact: you will have losing streaks. Richard Dennis had them. Every legendary trader did. But here's what they had in common. They didn't let those streaks change their identity. They didn't start calling themselves failures. They didn't rewrite their entire strategy in panic. They just kept executing the plan, with faith in the probabilities. That's what separates emotional traders from disciplined operators. The emotional trader changes everything after one bad week. The disciplined trader changes nothing, until the data proves it's necessary. That's resilience disguised as logic. Think of resilience like a muscle. You don't build it by reading about it. You build it by recovering. Every time you take a loss and come back, you're training that muscle. Every time you face fear and act anyway, you're strengthening it. Every time you endure uncertainty and stay calm, you're sharpening it. That's how mental durability is built. Not by comfort, but by repetition under pressure. Let's make this practical. Here's how to harden your resilience the way Richard Dennis trained his team. 1. Normalize loss. Don't react to it. Expect it. Write it into your system, because it's part of your cost of doing business. When you stop fearing losses, you stop exaggerating them. 2. Control your recovery time. After a big loss, don't rush back in. Review the data. Reset emotionally. You're not weak for stepping back, you're wise. You can't fight chaos while you're still shaking. 3. Redefine success. Stop defining it as winning. Define it as executing cleanly. If you followed your rules and lost, you still won. Because discipline always wins long term. That's how you build indestructibility, through consistent, emotionless recovery. Resilience isn't just about bouncing back from pain. It's also about bouncing back from success. Yes, success can break you just as easily as failure. After a big win, most traders lose focus. They feel invincible. They start breaking rules. They trade bigger. They trade recklessly. And soon enough, they give it all back. Resilience means staying balanced on both sides, not getting too high when you win and not getting too low when you lose. That's emotional mastery. That's why the best traders sound boring. They don't celebrate much. They don't complain much. Because their self-worth isn't tied to outcomes. It's tied to execution. Richard Dennis understood that longevity beats intensity. He wasn't trying to feel powerful for a month. He was trying to stay powerful for decades. That's why he trained his traders to detach from outcomes, master their emotions, and keep showing up, regardless of the storm. Because the real victory isn't one massive win. It's surviving long enough to see the math of discipline pay off. That's resilience. That's power that compounds. Repeat this to yourself. You will be tested. You will fall. But you will rise, stronger, calmer, sharper. You don't need perfection. You need persistence. You don't need certainty. You need consistency. You don't need to win every battle. You just need to stay in the war. Because resilience is not about what happens to you. It's about what you do next. So when the market hits you, when doubt creeps in, when you feel like quitting, remember this. Richard Dennis wasn't born fearless. He built that courage trade by trade, loss by loss, rebound by rebound. And so will you. Because resilience isn't gifted. It's earned through repetition, through discipline, through refusal to break. That's your edge. That's what makes you unshakable. You can lose everything except your ability to recover, and that one ability will rebuild it all. You've reached the end of this journey. You've learned to stop predicting and start executing. To detach from outcomes. To master your emotions. To protect your process. To stay patient, consistent, and resilient. And now, you understand the real truth of trading psychology. You don't conquer the market. You conquer yourself. That's what Richard Dennis mastered. And that's what you're capable of mastering, starting now. So stand up. Reset your mindset. And make one promise to yourself. You will never break again. You will bend, you will bleed, but you will not break. Because you have the edge that can't be taught, resilience.